What is your current level of English? Let's find out. I'm gonna ask you 30 questions. Keep track of how many you can get right, and at the end of this video you will know your English level. So let's get started. The first 10 questions are beginner level. You will see 3 sentences and you should choose the one that uses English correctly. Ready? Question 1. She have a new friend. She has a new friend. She has new friend. She has a new friend is the correct answer. In the simple present tense, we use has with he, she, and it, and have with I, you, we, they. She has a new friend is the correct answer. Question 2. John lives in Madrid. John lives on Madrid. John lives at Madrid. John lives in Madrid is the correct answer. When talking about where someone lives, we use the preposition in for cities, states, and countries, and on for streets and floors. John lives in Madrid, but he lives on the 2nd street. Question 3. I doesn't like boring films. I not like boring films. I don't like boring films. I don't like boring films is the correct answer. To make a sentence negative in the simple present tense, we use don't for I, you, we, they, and doesn't for he, she, and it. I don't like boring films is the correct answer. Question 4. The boy speaks very loud. The boy speaks very loudly. The boy speaks very loudly. The boy speaks very loudly is the correct answer. In this sentence, the word loudly describes how the boy speaks. That means this is an adverb, and to make an adjective into an adverb, we add the ending ly. Slowly, carefully, loudly. Question 5. Are you going to meet him tomorrow? Are you going meeting him tomorrow? Are you going meet him tomorrow? Are you going to meet him tomorrow is the correct answer. When talking about future plans in English, we use going to plus followed by the base form of the verb, as in going to call, going to see, going to meet him tomorrow. Question 6. Where is the most closer petrol station? Where is the most close petrol station? Where is the closest petrol station? Where is the closest petrol station is the correct answer. In this sentence, we are using the superlative form of an adjective, so we add the ending as newest, oldest, closest. For superlatives, we only use most when an adjective has 3 or more syllables. Most different, most important, most unbelievable. For that reason, option 2 is incorrect. Question 7. Did you study yesterday? Did you study yesterday? Do you study yesterday? Did you study yesterday is the correct answer. In this sentence, we have a past marker word, yesterday, which means we should use the past simple tense. And to ask the question in the past simple tense, we use did. Did she eat? Did they go? Did you study yesterday? Question 8. A man can speak Russian. A man can to speak Russian. A man can speak Russian. A man can speak Russian is the correct answer. Can is a modal verb along with could, may, might, should, must, will, would. When a modal verb is followed by another verb, we don't use the infinitive form. Instead, we use the base form. I should go. You might eat. A man can speak Russian. Question 9. I started learning English before 5 years. I started learning English 5 years ago. I started learning English the last 5 years. I started learning English 5 years ago is the correct answer. When talking about a moment in the past, when something began, changed, and ended, we use the word ago. She finished her homework an hour ago. He died a month ago. I started learning English 5 years ago. Question 10. There is some milk in my cup. There are some milks in my cup. There is many milks in my cup. There is some milk in my cup is the correct answer. Milk is an uncountable noun like water, coffee, and gas. And when talking about the quantities of the milk, we cannot use the articles like a and the because they refer to single item. Likewise, we cannot use many because it refers to multiple items. Congratulations, you have now finished the beginner portion of the test. If you answer 6 or more questions correctly, then your English is likely A1. And if you answer 9 or more questions correctly, then your English is probably A2. Nice work. The following questions are intermediate level. Select the sentence that uses English correctly. Question 1. Have you finished your homework? Did you finish your homework? Do you finish your homework? Well, have you finished your homework is the correct answer. In this sentence, we are talking about the past, but there is no specific time mentioned, so we need to use the present perfect tense. Have you finished your homework? Question 2. My friend takes a 5-mile walk every day. My friend takes a 5 miles walk every day. My friend takes 5 miles walk every day. My friend takes a 5-mile walk every day is the correct answer. In English, we can connect two words together with a hyphen to create a compound adjective. A well-dressed man, a part-time job, a first-class ticket. But remember that English adjectives are always singular, so a 5-mile walk is correct. Question 3. She asked her boss to get a raise. She asked her boss to have a raise. She asked her boss for a raise. She asked her boss for a raise is the correct answer. In this sentence, we are dealing with a collocation, words that often go together in English, and the collocation for a raise is to ask for. She asked her boss for a raise. Question 4. If I eat too much, I would be fat. If I eat too much, I will be fat. If I eat too much, I would have been fat. Well, the correct answer is if I eat too much, I will be fat. In this sentence, we are talking about a condition that might actually happen. Therefore, we need to use the first conditional structure, which is if plus present simple tense, comma, outcome in the future. As in, if Sarah misses the bus, she'll be late. If you study hard, you'll get an A. If I eat too much, I'll be fat. Question 5. My father hasn't gone windsurfing, and so have I. My father hasn't gone windsurfing, and so haven't I. My father hasn't gone windsurfing, and neither have I. My father hasn't gone windsurfing, and neither have I is the correct answer. We use so and neither when we are stating a phrase with a new subject. We use so with positive phrases and neither for negative phrases. As in, my sister likes sushi, and so do I. My father hasn't gone windsurfing, and neither have I. Question 6. The car broke off while we were driving. The car broke out while we were driving. The car broke down while we were driving. The car broke down while we were driving is the correct answer. To break down is a phrasal word meaning to stop functioning or working and is often used when talking about cars. To break out meaning is to escape from the prison. To break off means a piece of something becoming detached. Question 7. We had a picnic another day. We had a picnic the other day. We had a picnic some other day. We had a picnic the other day is the correct answer. In English, we use the phrase the other day to describe an event that happened at a general time in the recent past. I met her for the first time the other day. They had a party the other day. We had a picnic the other day. When I was a kid, I was used to play football. When I was a kid, I used to play football. When I was a kid, I was used to play football. When I was a kid, I used to play football is the correct answer. We use the phrase used to plus base form of the verb to describe something happened regularly in the past. I used to work in an office. They used to live upstairs. I used to play football. But be careful not to confuse this with two similar phrases. To be used to something which describes habits, as in, I'm used to getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning. To get used to something which expresses that someone has learned to tolerate something unpleasant over time. Question 10. The student was tired because he was studying all day. The student was tired because he had been studying all day. The student was tired because he studied all day. The student was tired because he had been studying all day is the correct answer. The student was tired is a simple past clause, and we are referring to an action that happened over a period of time before that. So we need to use past perfect continuous. The student was tired because he had been studying all day. Congratulations! You have now finished the intermediate portion of the test. Did you answer 6 or more questions correctly? Then your English is likely at a B1 level or above. If you answer 9 or more questions correctly, then your English is probably at a B2 level. Great work. Now let's move on to the advanced section of the test. Some of these questions are quite challenging, so don't be discouraged if you don't know all the answers correctly. Just keep going and do your best. Let's commence. Question 1. Fill in the blank. It's a good idea, but it's very impractical, unpractical, non-practical. Impractical is the correct answer. Impractical is an adjective meaning unrealistic or difficult to achieve. Question 2. Creative people need to think beyond the pale, in someone's shoes, outside the box. Creative people need to think outside the box is the correct answer. To think outside the box is an English idiom means to be original or to come up with fresh ideas. Beyond the pale describes something offensive or unacceptable. Put yourself in someone else's shoes means try to understand another person's point of view. Question 3. After her trip to Germany, she will have visited more than 35 countries. She will be visiting more than 35 countries. She will have been visiting more than 35 countries. After her trip to Germany, she will have visited more than 35 countries is correct. In this sentence, we are talking about the event that will be completed or finished at a given time in the future. The event is visited more than 35 countries. And what is the time? After her trip to Germany. For that reason, we need to use future perfect tense. After her trip to Germany, she will have visited more than 35 countries. She is going to quit her job. She is completely over it, under it, past it. She is going to quit her job. She is completely over it is the correct answer. To be over something is a phrasal verb means to have lost interest, as in, Jack and Lisa broke up last month, but he's definitely still not over her. Question 5. Blank, a team of researchers for a decade, Amanda felt confident with her leadership abilities. Leading, having led, having to lead. Having led a team of researchers for a decade, Amanda felt confident with her leadership abilities is the correct answer. When a sentence begins with a verb, we need to use the gerund form, the ing form. Swimming is good for you. Smoking is bad for you. But this gerund refers to the past, so we need to use the perfect gerund form, having led. Question 6. I don't mean to be precocious, presumptuous, perilous, but I'm not sure that color looks right on you. Presumptuous is the correct answer. It's an adjective means to be too bold or outspoken. Question 7. The contract was ready to be signed, but then the client backed up, backed down, backed out. To back out is a phrasal word means to withdraw from an agreement. To back up describes when a car moves in reverse. To back down means to yield in a struggle or conflict. If Paul had been left a bit sooner, he would have arrived on time. If Paul had left a bit sooner, he would have arrived on time is a correct answer. This is a third conditional structure. If plus past perfect, comma, would have plus past participle. Question 9. The new associate didn't really get in trouble. They just gave him a pat on the back, a slap on the wrist, a chip on the shoulder. A slap on the wrist is the correct answer. It's an idiom, means a very light punishment. And finally, the last question. The professor asked that her students' responses be no shorter, not shorter, no more short than 500 words. No shorter is the correct answer. When referring to comparative adjectives like shorter, bigger, faster, we use no. As in the sentence, there must be no more and no less than 5 members in a team. Congratulations, you have now finished the advanced section of the test. If you answer 6 or more questions correctly, then your English is likely at a C1 level. And if you answer 9 or more questions correctly, then your English is probably at a C2 level, close to native fluency. Fantastic work. In addition, if you're not there yet, don't worry, it takes most students years of dedicated practice to reach a C2 level of English. So just stick with it and keep practicing.